Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for Experimental Build 2 of Update 105 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, this week was mainly fixing all the things that were broken about last week's build. But as always, some new toys, so let's take a look at them. We have, courtesy of Stefan, a replacement set, long needed and expanded, for our classic 22LR Plinkers, our 1022. This first one is in classic configuration, 22LR, 10 round rotary mag. A little easy when it's when it's that close to shoot at. Pull that out there. It does have an affixable top rail, so if you wish to pick rail that out, but because this is a classic configuration, I have not put it on there automatically. Let's see if we can take... The irons on this are actually quite nice. Let's... A little high, not too bad. So, and this has a 10 rounder. This has the 25 rounder here. Etc. And we have a second version of it to go with it. The R1022 Sport. Just look at how fancy that one looks. Just look at that. You can see it's got like an aftermarket mag release lever, so we can actually use the down on the touchpad or AX on it. We have a what is it, 50 round drum for it. I'm not going to fire them all, obviously. Great high visibility sights. And if 50 isn't enough for you, we also have a 110 rounder, which you can actually see that part of it rotate as it fires. Isn't that sweet? So I'm just sending 22 into the ceiling. But yeah, just look at that beaut. Oh, and to take advantage of our new secondary magazine system, you can actually pop open the back here and store some 10 rounders in it. Boop. Just in case, you know, we run out of our 110 here and need just a little bit more. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Good stuff. In addition, I didn't show this off last week because it was broken, but we now have a rotary 5-round speed loader for 12 gauge, which is designed for the MTS 255 here, and a future shotgun that I have the model for but don't have implemented yet. And along the way, I made several improvements, one of which is that the collision on our larger speed loaders actually updates. So if I dump these out here, that actually sits like so. And as we insert this, it's now not a single frame jump, but has just a couple frames of easing there. I never tire of this one. And I actually put into the item spawner our AI sights, which I had shown off a couple devlogs ago, which amusingly actually make for some pretty good shotgun sights, especially if you're holding it out here. They are, because of how big this is, it's actually really quick to get them back on target. Wonderful. And then lastly, this is a big one. A whole bunch of my time this week was spent actually fixing a bunch of things I had broken in the shared locomotion system when I migrated everything into a single kernel. One of those had been AX button smooth turning, which now should work again, but it was in the process of playing around with that that I remember that a number of folks have been long frustrated by the fact that when you are moving really fast in motion, whether that's falling or moving laterally, the wrist menu doesn't work because effectively it's like one frame out of sync or like a half frame out of sync because the physics system and the rest of things don't necessarily update exactly at the same time across the frame. And so I did a bunch of re-architecting and this is now fixed. So if we take off here, yep, let's keep going. All right. And now we're up here. And as you can see, look at that. We are moving at very high velocity still here. And this works fine, and we can just reload our scene. Boop. So you should no longer soft lock if you end up falling very deeply off of a scene that is a low reset, or just go flinging yourself out into oblivion sideways or upwards from blowing various things up. You should now be able to reload the scene just fine. As a future thing, I know as well, certain sorts of interactions also don't work well while you are moving super fast. That's a separate problem space, and I'm not honestly sure I can fix it, but I'm going to try to. So that'll be another piece. Another thing that I will be investigating sometime soon. Bap, bap. Wonderful. Anywho, let's jump out of VR, talk about what else is going on. Yo! So, out of VR, what else is going on? I am still obviously working on getting things buttoned up for moving to alpha and then moving to full release for this update. There's still some bugs, there's still some serialization stuff that I'm working on. This week was largely taken up with fixing locomotion stuff and doing a brutal amount of trial and error to figure out what was going on. It's super difficult for me to work on some of the smooth locomotion stuff because I can't really do it. Like, smooth turning makes me violently ill basically immediately. So I have to do this weird thing where I sort of like wear the HMD like up on my head and watch the screen, and it's irritating. It's slow work, but got it working. Yeah, and so that's what I'm going to be doing over the next week, aside from probably, another toy as usual, is just getting the build back into the state where I can re-enable saving and loading. There's still a whole bunch of corner cases that I need to deal with, introduced via objects containing other objects and the secondary mag stuff, so that is not done yet. Also, to sort of extend off that, I got a couple, like a bug report or two about things like, there's certain things about objects that obviously don't save. One of them is like folding stocks and things like that, flip up and down sights. And the bad news is that there's no way to automatically handle all of that. And the reason for that is that many of those objects are completely independent interactions. Like, they live on the hierarchy of the firearm, but they aren't sort of script reference attached to the firearm, and there's nothing about them that sort of denotes them as being serialized. And so I'm going to have to come up with essentially a new type of component connection, and slowly work my way through the arsenal of the whole game, adding in those things that need to be manually saved. So that is something that is not going to occur immediately. That's going to be like every week I do an update, I'll go and do a batch of 20 to 30 guns and migrate them over to this new system. So it's going to be a while until certain things like folding stocks and flip up and down sights actually save those settings when you save and load them in a scene or in and out. Well, it's interesting because like it will preserve those things in a gun case as long as you don't save and load the scene, because all the gun case is doing is turning that object off in the scene and then turning it back on. It's never deleted and regenerated. But any process that deletes and regenerates something is going to does need that thing to be able to be saved, and there's a whole bunch of things that need to be manually made. This is one of those things that, like, if I knew anything about serialization when I started working on H3, I would have built this all from the get-go, and every single thing that the user interacted with or substate about an object would have been fed into a completely unified and sensibly architected serializer, and I would have architected a lot of the guns just different. But to be perfectly frank, when I started making this, like, I didn't really know what I was doing. So this is that old, like, 6.5 years of technical debt and regrets coming back to bite me. So I'm going to try to get it to work as best I can, but that aspect of things is probably going to be jank for quite a long time, just so that your expectations are dialed in. I'll do what I can, but this is the problem with making a game with 500 guns, is you're like, I need to change one little thing 500 times now. So anywho, well, that's about it for now. I hope there's gonna be another experimental build going up, a little bit less than an hour after this video. And those of you who had problems with locomotion bugs, make sure I didn't break something else fixing the smooth turning. So, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.